What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This is season 5, episode 7. And what I will say is the fan theories about Whitney and Heather and their relationship or lack thereof relationship with Lisa, it's becoming more and more true as the episodes continue. And I'll expound upon that more in the review. But let's get into it. Sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I just got one thing to talk about. So this page by the name of Mary Crosby's fan page, I've talked about them before. Sometimes they drop tea. I don't know how, what's the word? How concrete it is, that's the word I'm looking for. But they seem to have their ear to the streets in SOC and might have somebody in production or might even be somebody that works on production. But they call themselves Mary Crosby's fan page. But they posted this about the feud that happens between Lisa and Mary. It says, allegedly, I heard they cut down the Lisa and Mary feud. I heard it will be shown, but not in its severity that it was filmed. They can't completely cut it out because most of the latter half of the season will feel weird without context. They continue by saying this, continued, a lot goes down. Bravo/Shed Media are toying with the idea of cutting it down. I hope they don't because it's a pretty significant part of the season. Remember I said Lisa started it with mentioning Robert Jr. and Mary retaliated by talking about Henry. Now, like I said, I would take anything they say with a grain of salt as it pertains to Mary because you're naming yourself a fan page. Because to me, as there's no equivalent. Me talking about your 23, 22-year-old son that has a drug addiction is not the same as you talking about a 7th grader. And I think you're like 11 or 12 in 7th grade. If anything, you could have came for Jack, her son that's like 19 or 18 at the moment. Like, and what they're mentioning is Mary called Henry the R slur, retarded. That's what she called him. And everybody was like, whoa. And a lot of people feel like they're cutting down this portion of the season. If they do it, is it favor of Lisa? But I think the reverse. I think it's actually in favor of Mary because right now everybody is loving Mary and they're going up for her. And I think the network doesn't really want any major problems with Mary as it states right now, mainly because of how the previous season with Jenny Gwen and her racist ass, how that went. I think they're probably going to try to give Mary a little grace here, but let's call a thing a thing. Them saying that she retaliated by talking about a 12-year-old girl when your son is clearly in the bouts of addiction. Now, I don't know in what context Lisa mentioned her son, but if anything, if you were going to talk about kids, you should have talked about the oldest, not the youngest. Like, let's just call a thing a thing. And I know people don't like Lisa and they're saying like, well, it's fair game because she mentioned Electra, but Electra is 12 just like Henry is probably 12. Mary's son is 22, 23, and you're talking about a 12-year-old. You look bad. We just gonna have to call a thing. But drop down in the comments and give me your thoughts about that. But let's get into this review. The episode opens up where it left off. So we still at Angie's house celebrating her 25th wedding anniversary. And you got Lisa and what's her name? Whitney at the table having a meltdown, okay? So Lisa on the phone with her cybersecurity named Shine, basically telling Shine, call the IRS, the FBI, the CIA, we going full throttle because they are accusing me of doing something that is not in my nature or my character, and I'm sick of it. So she walks away from the table, and then she pivots and walks back to the table with the girls, and she tells Whitney, I don't even know if you're telling the truth about this whole entire situation because you're a liar. So then Lisa walks over to her husband, his name is John, and Justin, who is Whitney's husband. And Lisa says to Justin, I don't know how you can be with somebody like that because all she do is lie. So then Lisa walks away from Justin and Justin walks towards Lisa saying, my wife's not an effing liar. So then John steps in and puts his arm in front of Justin or kind of pushes him back being like, hey, ease up off my wife and don't be cussing at her. So then Justin is like, oh, for real? And so they start to go back and forth. So then you see Whitney run over there to the altercation. Lisa's already there and she's like, John, it's okay, it's okay. And Whitney's like, Justin, chill, chill, chill. So you even see production trying to pull on John, like, back up a little bit, sir. And so Whitney's in her confessional being like, Lisa did that on purpose and she should be ashamed. Why would you ever involve the husbands? So then as they're trying to pull the husbands apart, you see an altercation again between Whitney and Lisa where Whitney's like, you, my friend, don't own your sting. And Lisa's like, girl, I'm not your friend. You're not my friend. Like, let's not do that. And I didn't do it. So then Angie gets in between them and she's like, okay, everybody chill out. Y'all are in my house. Y'all are in my home now. If this was at an event center or a restaurant, hey, tear it up. But we at my house and I don't fault the lady. I mean, it probably would be different if this was like in the backyard or something. But I'm like, y'all are in her home going off on each other. And she might be worried that Lisa gonna throw a drink again. So she said, calm down. Calm down. So Lisa's in her confessional being like, I have the right to defend myself. I'm not going to constantly allow people to keep saying that I did these things when I didn't do these things. I'm going to defend myself. So then they kind of got a bit of distance between each other in the party. But then you see Meredith walk over to Lisa and kind of wind her up again, where Meredith yells across the room to Whitney, like, why won't you just believe her or give her the benefit of the doubt? So then Whitney's like, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I was going to hear her out. And so Whitney's yelling now, and now you got Angie being like, Lord, I just told y'all to chill out. So then Meredith again says, give her the benefit of the doubt and stop saying you want to and do it. And that's what Meredith is saying to Whitney because they come back together again. So then Angie is just like, okay, everybody chill. We're going to let Mary pray. She said she was going to pray for us. So I want to let her pray. So then you see them now separated and Mary tells Whitney and Lisa to hold hands. And Lisa's like, I'm good. And Mary's like, no, it's important. It's important. You guys got to hold hands. I'd have told that lady, girl, pray. I don't want to touch her. Okay. But Mary convinces Lisa and Whitney to hold hands. So they're holding hands. Mary says a prayer. After the prayer is over, Lisa immediately lets go of Whitney's hand and is like, girl, why would you ever think I would do you like that? Even if I hated you, I wouldn't even play in your face like that or put that information out like that. Like, I thought we were friends. So then Justin leans in and he's like, well, why do you keep calling her a liar? I don't know where John came from. That man either teleported or he's Sonic or the Flash or Quicksilver, because he came out of nowhere to the point where Whitney was even kind of scared because she looked up like, whoa, and he shoves Justin's arm and is like, let them talk about it, stay out of it. And then you got Justin be like, I'm gonna pound the guy, I'm gonna pound him. And when I said, Justin, you may be big, you may ride Harley Davidsons, but when I tell you, you didn't have enough gruff in you for me to believe what you were saying was true, because the way that John shoved you, you were well within your right to pop him back, because that was like a shove, like, don't touch my wife. And I was like, I said, John, where you come from? Did you teleport here? Like, I was like, yo, that was quick. And he was legit was like, he was going to give him the smoke. I don't know where John is from. I don't know, maybe John is from New York. Because then Lisa said, like, she lived in New York from some time. Maybe he grew up in New York. I don't know. But John looked like he got the dog in him. And I thought Justin had the dog in him. But John looked like he really got the dog in him. Like, he'll fight you over Lisa. And won't make no qualms about it. Okay. So then you got Whitney being like, not Whitney, Heather in her confessional being like, this kind of feels bad. Like, this is like, we're in territory of like no return, because she was like, the husbands have never gotten into it and we had way worse conversations. So this is crazy. So after that situation happened, Whitney and Justin decide to leave. We then get this scene of Lisa crying, being like, like, why would she ever accuse me of something like that? It's like every time I think we're moving forward in our friendship, we take like 2 steps back, and she's like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with her. Like, this is just disgusting. So then we see Sean and Angie talking, and Angie's like, Lord. And Sean's like, that was interesting. I said, yeah. Yeah, well, and the 2 couples that got into the fight are now talking about it. So we see Lisa and John talking, and, John is like, you know what? I had to defend my mouthy wife. It is what it is. And Lisa's like, And I'm like, he know you talk too much, girl. And John feels like he still wants to be cool with Justin, but he was like, he ain't never seen Justin be that aggressive. And he didn't like the fact that Justin was coming towards Lisa, so he felt like he had to defend her. Lisa feels like she's owed an apology from Justin for his behavior, and she's okay with John wanting to like clear the air with Justin. We then go over to Justin and Whitney's house, and he's pouring like the Vita tequila down the drain, and I guess it's like a beer or a seltzer brand that's also a part of Lisa's company, down the drain. And Whitney looked appalled and concerned. She was like, you don't want to, Whitney was like, you don't want to donate these to people? And he's like, I'm donating it to the drain. I found that to be cheesy. And maybe it just could have been my gripes of I'm not the type of person that likes to waste food because food is expensive. But I'm also like, you could always have kept the alcohol, because I think the Vita Tequila brand was unopened. And I'm like, yo, you might as well just like, if there's a housewarming or something, give it to somebody as a housewarming gift or something. Like, my parents do it all the time. Like, if someone gives them a bottle of wine that they don't like, they'll gift it to somebody else. Like, that's a free gift. That's the gift cycle. But Whitney, it was the face of, like, Whitney's facial expression. Like I was like, I felt like maybe Whitney really likes the alcohol, so she was taken aback, like, why are you pouring out good liquor? I don't know. I've never had Vita Tequila. I've heard mixed reviews. I heard some people say that it's actually really good, and then I've heard other people say, like, no, it tastes like gasoline. I guess it just depends on, like, your taste buds. But, yeah. So Whitney feels like Lisa wanted something to pop off. Justin feels like he wasn't in the wrong for defending Whitney or himself, because Lisa was the one that came to him first. So he doesn't really feel like he owes Lisa any apology. Now, what is Brittany going to Heather's beauty lab? And so they sit down in the lobby area, and Brittany thinks Heather wants to talk to her about what happened at the party as it pertains to Jared being there. Heather is like, girl, no, I wanted to talk about what happened between Lisa and Whitney, not Jared being there. And so as they're talking in the beginning of the conversation, Heather's like, what are we talking about? And Brittany's like, Jared. And Heather's like, oh, I thought you were talking about Whitney. But she was like, okay, let's start at the first traumatic moment and get to that one. And so Heather's like, yeah, girl, I was surprised that Jared was there, because Jared lives an hour away. Like, was he just circling the block, or what time did Justin text him for him to be at the place? So Heather's like, yeah, and you seem to be so traumatized by him being there the whole moment. You were crying the whole night. And Brittany's like, it's because I love him. Heather, like, I don't understand how he can just treat me so wonderfully and so perfect, but not be all in. And Heather's kind of just like, girl, let him go. Let him go. Like, it's time to let him go. They do a flashback to when they were talking outside of Angie's party last episode. And even with that small portion of that conversation, I was like, Jared is the type of person, because I can't even say man, because I've seen women do it too. Like, I stopped being friends with somebody because of that, because I did not like the way she was treating the guys that she was dating. Like, she would just be so like manipulative and dirty to them. And I'm not saying like, and it's far be it for me to defend a man, but like, her behavior was just like, I just couldn't take it. But basically, Jared knows that Brittany wants to be with him. Jared understands that like, he holds all the cards in this relationship, and he gets off on manipulating and doing things to Brittany because he knows Brittany wants his affection and wants his love. And I'm just like, yeah, like, it was easy to see, because when she was like, I don't want to hurt Aaron, he's a great guy. And Jared's like, yeah, he is a great guy. Let me get you back to him. You could see in Brittany's face, like, she wanted him to say something like, yeah, he's a great guy, but I'm better for you. Or like, I'm here to get you back, or something like that. Like, she wanted him to do a grand gesture to win her over, but he's not going to do that, because he knows you're going to take pennies, because that's what you into. So as they're sitting there, that's when Heather is just like, girl, you got to let him go. Like, it's a toxic relationship. And I'm going to be honest with you, sis, you looking crazy out here. You looking crazy. And Brittany thought she was going to Uno reverse on Heather and be like, well, you've never been in love and never done something stupid. And Heather's like, yeah, I've been in toxic relationships and I've lost everything. And Heather's like, what happened to you trying to reconnect with your daughters? And Brittany was like, I can do that. I could do both. Like, you know, and they do the flashback of when we saw them playing pickleball. And Brittany was like, yeah, I've chosen men over my daughters before. And Heather's just like, yeah, girl, you got to pick. You got to either be with your, work on your relationship with your daughters versus trying to date. And Brittany says in her confessional, I feel like I can do both. We actually find out in that conversation is that Brittany lost her mom about a year ago, and that was like her best friend. So it's like this relationship with Jared is similar to what happened to Alexia. Is it Alexia? No, Alexis on Real Housewives of Orange County. Like, John came into Alexis's life maybe like a few months after her mom died, and it seems like Jared has just come into Brittany's life a few months after her mom died, because I think Brittany said her mom has only been dead for like a year and a half. And when you are a bird and then you mix that with grief, you make even worse decisions. So I think she's clinging on, trying to cling on to something, but he not it. He not. We have is with Bronwyn and her husband Todd. So they're going to this restaurant to have lunch. Now, mind you, they sat in one of the plastic bubbles. I've always wanted to like eat in those. Like when I used to live in Alabama, because some people don't think Alabama gets cold during the winter, but it does. And the city that I was staying in, a lot of the bars would, you know, have those things outside. But anytime me and my friends would get there, they would all be full. And I've always wanted to just sit in one and just like take pictures and stuff, because I always thought they were just the coolest thing. But they're sitting in one and they're eating. They're talking about Todd's schedule. So we know that Todd spends at least 3 days out of the week in New York while she stays in Utah with her daughter. And she says one of the funnest things she loves to do is pick Todd up from the airport in costume. Now, mind you, I thought she was going to be wearing like one of the couture outfits. Like, you know, last time we saw her we seen her wear the big heart jacket, and then we've also seen her wear the hot dog outfit when they went to the drag show in Milwaukee. Girl, no, Bronwyn puts on actual Halloween costumes. She had on a pig outfit, a frog, a shark. I think she was a mushroom. She was a frog. like there was one where she was a panda. Then there was another one where she had on like the bear head, but then she had on a suit, and she, you know, does a little jig for him, and you just see Todd be like, Lord, girl. But you can tell that he likes it, because I bet you he would have told her to stop if he really didn't like it. I just think he told one man, don't worry about her. Don't worry about her. There was this one girl just looking at her like, okay. It was funny to me. It was so funny to me. But she was excited about that. She tells Todd that like she wants to do something big because their 10-year wedding anniversary is coming up. And she was like, oh, we should go to a race. We find out that he set up lessons for her to race with Mario Andretti, who is like a well-known, I think is he a NASCAR racer or like a Fiat racer? I don't be getting into that. But I know I've heard the name before. But he's a legendary like racer. But Bronwyn was only like, you know, interested in the guy that was on The Bachelor that was there at the same time. And so she was like, well, we should commemorate the event or the evening or whatever, or not the evening or whatever, the anniversary with going to a race. So I found out that there's a race outside of like Palm Springs in such and such area, and I think we should go and we should take some of the girls. Now, I don't want to take Brittany because that's a little too messy, and I don't know who she gonna bring to the event. And so we actually see a text message conversation that Bronwyn sent to Todd where she was like, ew, Brittany's here with a new guy. Jared just showed up. Brittany has 2 dates. If they duel over her, I'll be so entertained. I'm manifesting violence. I said, dang, Bronwyn, tell us how you really feel about Brittany. So Todd was like making jokes about, you know, maybe they in a swingers relationship. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, like, if you don't want her to be there, she don't got to be there. So then she was like, I don't know, what if I decide to bring Heather? She was like, right now, me and her are on the same page, but I would like her to come, but not where we at now. And he was like, well, you might as well talk to her. So then he starts to bring up about the Lisa and the Gwen Gwen's father situation. And Todd is very much, he don't like them people. He thinks they are horrible people for what they did to Gwen, not wanting to be in her life. And he just hates that now it's being brought back up. And Bronwyn starts to talk about how, Todd is very protective of Gwen. I mean, he's been in her life probably since she was like, because the picture looks like Gwen might be like 6 or 7, and she's now 18. That's a long time. That's her daddy. So he doesn't want her to get hurt. She then brings up how Lisa kind of got in between it, and how, they messaged Gwen, and how Gwen was kind of like turned off by how cold the message was, about how if you're ready for us, then you got to take us as we are, when it should be the other way around. Y'all should be ready for me and take me how I am with y'all, because y'all discarded us. So she says, I never realized how mad I was. And like, I'm trying my best not to like push my anger off onto Gwen, because I don't want her to be angry because of me. And Todd is like, you have every right to be angry. And so then Bronwyn started to, get very emotional. And then Todd was like, well, I'm done with this conversation. I'm over it. And I didn't like that. I didn't. Like, has Bronwyn been my favorite? Not really. I still got my good eye on her. But I do feel like, allow her to talk this out. Like, this is something that she probably never thought was going to happen, and you're her husband, and you should hear her out. Allow her to really sift through her emotions and really get to like a place where she can be okay. Like, you should be a listening ear, not just cutting her off. And I get it. And maybe I'm taking it like a little personal, because I'm that type of way where sometimes I will talk a situation to death until I find a solution. So I don't like when people dismiss me, and it just felt really dismissive. And I was just like, just listen to her. Okay. Let her cry. Let her be angry. You are entitled to feel how you want to feel, because you've been in your daughter's life since she was like a little girl. But like, let her feel how she wants to feel. She probably never thought this would happen. The scene we have is with Lisa and her younger sister, Denise. And I don't know, Denise look a little bit older than Lisa, okay? Lisa got some good work done on that face. Because I definitely was like, she looks a little older than you. But we find out that Lisa has 6 siblings. I think they're all sisters, so 6 sisters. Well, 6 of them, so 5 sisters. And I think Lisa is a middle child, and Denise is like the youngest. And Lisa was like, Denise used to live in Utah, but now she lives in Texas. But they were like the closest because they were still living together, while as everybody else went out and did their own thing. So while they're sitting there, she gets a phone call from John. They talk about how their relationship is and how they're codependent and all of that stuff, and how they do everything together. Like, they drop Henry off at school, then they go get breakfast, and then they go to work and stuff. So her sister was like, oh, I love that for you. So while they're sitting there and they're eating, Lisa starts to get emotional, where she's just kind of like, I kind of feel like I'm not doing the best I could as a parent. And that's why it hurts so bad that, I'm finding out that Angie says that I'm a bad mom. And Lisa is just kind of like, it makes me feel like you've always thought that way about me. And that's one thing that I ripped myself to shreds about. And she tells her sister, like, it was 6 of us, and mom did the best that she could to try to make our childhoods magical, even though we didn't have a lot. And what we find out is that Henry and Jack were like this. And now that Jack is in Colombia on a mission, Henry is actually struggling to make friends, because he is so close to his brother, and he kind of like took on his brother's friends, or his brother's friends kind of welcomed him into the pack. But now that they're all gone and off to college and doing whatever they're doing, Henry is kind of by himself. It's basically like how some freshmen get into high school and they might become friends with all of the seniors, and then when the seniors leave, you're left by yourself sophomore year to try to like make friends again. And that's what Henry is kind of struggling with. And she talks about how Henry wanted to have like a little birthday gathering, but he waited too late, and they sent out invitations last minute, and nobody came to his gathering. Everybody went to another kid's birthday party, and he felt really bad. Like, he felt like a loser, and he was just like, we don't even have to do anything. Like, it's okay. I'm fine. And he was embarrassed. And Lisa starts to cry at the table. And this time I actually saw tears in Lisa's eyes. Like, sometimes Lisa be fake crying, but like her eyes were really glassy, and like you started to see like tears well up. So I do think Lisa does take like issue when people try to say she's a bad mom, because that's something that she critiques herself on the hardest. But I mean, eventually Henry will find his group. It always happens. Next scene we see is of Bronwyn, Whitney, and Angie going for a walk. And while they're walking, Whitney is still venting about what happened at the party. She's still mad and feels like Lisa owes her and her husband an apology. And Angie was like, girl, I don't know if you're going to get that apology. It's Lisa. And Whitney is like, Lisa's just mad that we caught her, and that's why she caused that whole situation with the husbands. She also lets them know that John reached out to Justin, and they're supposed to be having to sit down and talking their issues out. And so as they're walking, Whitney is pretty much saying that Whitney, like this is Lisa's MO. Lisa does things to people when she feels like they have hurt them. She tries to hurt them back. Then Angie is like, yeah, I wouldn't put it past Lisa. I've known her for so long, and when she's mad, she's mad. So then Bronwyn is just like, okay, that's not the Lisa I have met, so I don't know. So then Whitney was like, wait till you piss her off and this, and this. And Bron was like, whoa. It's not like I don't believe you. I'm just saying I have not met this Lisa. And Whitney's like, of course you haven't met her, because you're everything that Lisa wants to be. Like, you're rich, you're fabulous, you're like, once you throw her an extravagant party, she gonna want to be down. But then I'm like, I don't believe that, because if Lisa really wanted to be down with Bronwyn, they wouldn't have had that whole tit for tat in the beginning of the season when Bronwyn felt some type of way that Lisa didn't stand up for her while they were on the ropes, like when they were at the ropes course. And I feel like if Lisa was really trying to pledge her allegiance or her loyalty to Bronwyn the way that Whitney is trying to make it seem, then I feel like Lisa would have like cut the conversation and been like, oh, Bronwyn didn't mean it this way. Bronwyn's not like this. Bronwyn's not like that. And even though we saw Lisa do that, I think she would have did it with more like fire, but she didn't. So Lisa is just upset, and no, not Lisa. Whitney is just like still upset about the whole situation. We then see them sit down on a park bench, and Bronwyn invites them to the whole anniversary like trip. She lets them know Brittany's not invited, but she was like, she don't know if she should invite Heather. So then Angie was like, she needs to have a conversation with Heather, because she doesn't like the fact that Heather is telling Lisa things that she feels like she's telling her in confidence when she's venting, and not giving Angie the opportunity to speak to Lisa herself. And I feel like this is so hypocritical, because Angie can pinpoint how what Heather is doing to her is wrong, but couldn't take ownership that what she did to Lisa in the beginning, in the first episode, by running back and telling Whitney what Lisa said was wrong. Like, that's, girl, what? And Angie's like, yeah, I just don't like it. I'm going to have a talk with her. And Bron was like, I'm going to have a talk with Heather too, because I don't want to invite her on the trip, and we still are in this weird space. The next thing we have is of Heather and Angie going to Brittany's house for basically Wednesday night Bible study. But they called it fireside chats. It's a bunch of people from the church meet up at somebody's house. They read a couple of scriptures, sings a couple of hymnals, eat food, drink, and then talk about the people they don't like at church. Wednesday night Bible study, okay? So Heather gets there. She kind of feels weird, because when she was heavily into the Mormon faith, she used to host these things all the time. And now that she's not doing it, she was like, it just kind of feels weird. It's like going back to your first apartment. Do you want to live there? No, but you remember how everything made you feel. Brittany, we find out her mom, before she passed away, used to host these events all the time. We see her dad there. So next thing you know, we see Angie pull up. Angie decides to bring a bottle of wine as a thank you gift. Brittany gets pissy in the confessional, talking about, why would you bring that? I'm Mormon. Yeah, and I was glad that they did all the flashbacks, because Brittany, we've been seeing you drink since episode 1, and you've been guzzling wine down like it's water, and you are parched and dehydrated, so don't have no attitude. So they sit down and they start to sing hymnals. The dad ends up giving a speech about how much he misses his wife. And then Brittany was like, this is why I believe in true love. She says that her parents met, like, they only dated for like 3 or 4 days, and then 6 months later they got married. And she was like, and they lived in like marital bliss. I was like, you don't know that. Your perspective as a child versus your perspective as an adult, you should have changed it, because I don't believe your parents were that honest about their relationship or the issues that they had in their relationship. And I'm not saying they had issues, but it is weird to me when people get married that quickly. And as someone who is an army brat, there's always signs. Either one, you grew up in a like strictly religious household and you're horny and you really buy into like you can't have sex before marriage. So you get married to the first thing that makes you feel something between your legs so you can have sex and not it be deemed a sin. Number two, you either grew up in a strict household, you're horny, and you want your freedom, so you marry a military boy and get out the house. Or number three, you done either did things that technically was deemed sinful, like having sex before getting married. Your parents done treated you, your parents done they found out they clipped onto them restraints and wouldn't let you be free. So now you are marrying a military boy who's probably about to get deployed overseas and you gonna go with him to get away from your family. Either way, it's weird that you only met somebody for 3 days and then 6 months later you got married to him. What was you running from? That's all I got to say. And Brittany need to grow up because what? Okay. So we then see this conversation between Angie and Heather, where Angie basically says, oh no, before they start to get into it, Heather ends up telling them that Bronwyn invited her over and they're supposed to have a talk, and she's actually kind of surprised. Angie's like, oh, I'm glad that's gonna happen. I think that'd be great. I really like Bronwyn. And Heather's like, you do? Like, you don't feel like she's trying to sell you something, like she's trying to smooze you or anything like that, like a used car salesman? And Angie's like, no, I feel like she's been very direct with me. And she was like, even when she came and told me the information that you told Lisa. So then Heather gets an attitude where she was like, I didn't tell her that information that way. Well, Angie's like, well, Bronwyn told me that Lisa told her that you told her that I said she was a bad mother, that she uses video games to like monitor her kids, and I never said those things. I never came at her parenting, and Lisa was crying. So then Heather gets mad and she was like, that's not how I was said it. You don't think that's slimy? Honestly, Heather is just mad that she got caught. That's it. Is she can't handle the fact that she got caught. So Angie ends up being like, well, honestly, I don't think you've been a good friend to me, Heather, anyway, because you're telling Lisa what I'm telling you in confidence. We've known each other since we were 15. And I'm thinking we cool and we not cool. So cool and we not cool, and you're telling her information that I thought was like in the vault between us. And Heather's just like, no, I just told Lisa because I thought she needed to know, because I felt like what you were saying was wrong. And then Angie's like, what about the things that Lisa has said to me? She cussed me out, she called me a bitch, like she went off on me, and you never stood up for me or checked her about her behavior. And then in her confessional, Angie is like, Heather has always wanted to sit at the cool kids table, and I've seen her side with people even if she knows that it's wrong. And then that's when Angie says it to Heather, like, you side with people even if you know they're wrong just so you can be clicked up with them. And Heather's like, who are you talking about? And she was like, Jen, is that who you're talking about? And so Heather's like, that's a low blow. And she, in her confession, was like, yeah, there's been times where I've been blindly loyal, but to bring that up is like, that's wrong. But that's the consequences of lying. Like, you lied for 2 years. Like, you have to eat that. You have to build back people's trust in you, Heather. And this season, you're not doing a good job. You're not. Yeah, girl, yeah, you just not. So Angie said, like, I just feel like you're more her friend than my friend. And Heather's like, you know what, I'll think about what you're saying and really like internalize it and try to make better decisions. The husbands meet up, and the way John was struggling to parallel park, it made me like him a little bit more, because that's me. When I tell you I suck at parallel parking, I suck at parallel parking. Like, I'm not good at it. I am not good at it. And unless I can like easily get into that spot, I don't want to parallel park. I'm so like nervous that I'm going to mess up somebody's car, especially the ones behind me more than anything. But we see him go into a restaurant. We then see Justin, and John is like, hey, like, it's awkward. Like, it's real awkward. John is like, you want to order potato wedges? Justin is like, yeah, whatever. And so John is like, thanks for meeting me. I want to have this conversation because I want to tell you my side, and I want you to be able to tell me your side, and so we can move forward. And so Justin was just like, I don't get why you got physical. And John is like, well, when you leaned down to her and was cussing at her, I thought, and you got aggressive, I thought you might have done something, so I was trying to protect my wife. And so then Justin is like, well, then why'd you move my arm when I was just talking to the girls when they were talking? He was like, it was a reflex of you leaning down and stepping towards Lisa the first time that I was worried you were about to do something again. And so John apologizes, and then he asks Justin, is there a way that you can apologize to Lisa, because Lisa feels like she is owed an apology, and I think you should give her one. And Justin is like, I got to think about that, because as it states right now, I don't think I owe her nothing, which is Justin's right. But I will say the toxic side of me, if I found out that you're not going to apologize, just know I'm going to be nasty to you. It's just, it is what it is. Like, do I think Lisa was wrong? Yeah. Ultimately, I don't really fault the husbands. Like, John was protecting Lisa, Justin was protecting Whitney. I think Lisa should have never went over there, and if she did go over there, she should have grabbed her husband to the side and then start talking trash about Whitney and been like, I want to go. But to go up to Justin and be like, your wife's a liar, I don't even know how you deal with her, and not think he was going to defend his wife. I think the only where I fault Justin is he shouldn't have walked after Lisa, because I don't think John would have gotten involved, because Justin walked towards Lisa. So then John was like, oh, so you trying to come for my wife. I do think John was wrong when he shoved Justin's shoulder when Lisa and Whitney were going back and forth, because the situation was already heightened, and you directing yourself towards Lisa when John is already like, he already put his hands on you. And that's why I feel like Justin ain't got that dog in him, or really the fight in him, because that man touched you twice and you didn't do anything other than say, I'm gonna pummel this dude. And Justin pushed you back from his wife, and he shoved you away from his wife, and you didn't do nothing. But I don't fault Justin for not wanting to apologize. If you don't feel the need to apologize, or you don't feel like what you did was wrong, then I don't think you should apologize. But I do think you should be prepared for whatever energy that comes back towards you, because that person feels like they deserve an apology, and if they don't get it, they might be nasty. And looking at Lisa, it is what it is, because like Justin said, I see is Heather going over to Bronwyn's house. Bronwyn's house is nasty. I'm sorry. Like, at first I thought her house was cool. I still hate her stairs, because they give me like anxiety, because I feel like it's easy for like one of the dogs to fall, or her husband or her daughter to fall if they weren't paying attention. But like, to have doo-doo and like 2 piles of poop in your house and pee everywhere, it's gross to me. And you make enough money where you could have like a dog keeper or somebody that's like designated to like take care of your animals while company is there, or while you're in the house. That's why I think it's gross when people have that many dogs. Like, at most, I feel like 4 dogs in the house is enough. And then if you have cats, I can see 4 dogs and maybe 2 cats, and that's it, especially if you have a nice size home. But like 6 dogs, and then you're not actually like running after them to pick up their piss and poop, is disgusting. And I feel like Bronwyn's house smells like a kennel. It has kennel smell. If you're somebody that has worked in like an animal shelter or like a pet motel, you know what kennel smell smells like. And I feel like that's what Bronwyn's house smells like. And I don't like that, because it's actually a very nice house. Bronwyn's house and Mary's house is supposed to be like dopamine decor, where it's supposed to be very bright, vibrant colors that cause a rush of dopamine inside of you. And the room that I like the most is the one that has like the paint splotches type chairs. But I feel like the house stank, and I don't like that. So Bronwyn invited Heather over because she just wants to clear the air with her. And Bronwyn pretty much told Heather, I got my lick back against you, because you were going around telling everyone I was two-faced, I was malicious, I'm over here talking derogatory about people, all the while you did the same thing to Angie. And then Heather is like, well, really, I feel like you are two-faced and rather fearsome. Like, you give that you talk very badly about people, and I've seen you do it, and I think maybe you might talk badly about me. And so then they got on the whole thing where Bronwyn was like, well, I can apologize for that, but I feel like you should apologize to me as well. Like, you've been not so nice to me. You brought up the whole prenup thing. And Heather was like, well, marriage is a contract, and I am kind of surprised that your husband doesn't have a prenup and he makes so much money. Honestly, Heather could have apologized for that. I think Heather is in this mode where she's like, girl, I've been on this show for 5 years, for 5 seasons. You're a newbie. You're not about to make me bow down and kiss the ring and apologize. Like, it is what it is. So then Heather is just like, well, why did you invite me over here? And then Bronwyn is like, well, we're going on a trip, and I just didn't want to invite you on the trip if we weren't in a good place. So Heather's like, so you brought me over here to make me like grovel and beg you for a seat on a trip? Yeah, miss me with that. I'm actually uncomfortable and I don't want to be here anymore. And I actually feel like you kind of set me up, and this shows me about who you are. So I'm good. I'm good. No apology for me. Honestly, Heather could have apologized. Heather could have apologized, but I feel like Heather is in this mode of like, girl, I made timelines, receipts, facts, everything. That was a moment. I also like am sitting center stage in the promo photo. I've been on this show for 5 seasons. I got punched in the face for this show. I got abused by Jen Shaw for this show. And you just got here. I'm not about to kiss the ring or bow down to you. You're not about to get me to do it. I'm not about to humble myself to you, sis. And Bronwyn was like, I think Bronwyn's whole thing is like, girl, I'm not trying to get you to do that, but I'm also not going to let you punk or play me. So Heather actually gets up. She's like, girl, I'm out. She leaves and she's like, I'm cool. We're not going on the trip. And she gets in the car. I was actually surprised when Bronwyn sat down and started crying. Side note before I talked about that, them dogs all up in Heather's face. See, that's nasty. That is I like animals. I love animals. I went to school for animals. So I'm not saying this is someone who is not like into animals, but I don't want animals around my food. And the puppy was like all up on Heather's lap while she was eating. I would not want to eat nothing at Bronwyn's house. I'm sorry. And she seems like a decent lady, but girl, no. This was not a great look, Bronwyn. But I was actually surprised that she cried. Like, she was like, this is one of my insecurities. Like, I thought I was putting my best foot forward, and the fact that like it wasn't it wasn't well received bothers me. And so she's crying, and I was just like, dang. Like, that really, like, I guess Bronwyn really wants to be friends with Heather or cool with her in some sense. And Heather not being able to see that she is trying to be genuine, kind of like, what's the word? She booted herself out of creating a new relationship with somebody who I think is going to be here to stay. Bronwyn is definitely about to like be on this cast for a long time. She's gonna be here to stay. So Heather should figure out a way to get over herself and work things out with the lady. Y'all, that is it. That is all. And as always, remember to be bravely authentic, and definitely hop down in the comments below and share your thoughts with me, as well as give me a thumbs up if you like what you heard, and subscribe. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.